All right, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily, where you subscribe for a video on cryptocurrency every day. My name's Austin. I'm one of two people that drop daily videos on this channel, the other being my brother Aaron. And in today's video, I want to clue you in on the latest news, things that are making headlines in our industry. So let's start with the big one. Institutional investors, i.e. people with the big money, they now have another on-ramp if/when they choose to get into Bitcoin/cryptocurrency. Institutional investors now have another way to do so. We saw this on a slightly larger scale last week when Fidelity went live with their Bitcoin custody services. And now we're seeing this on a slightly smaller scale, with Swiss Bank announcing that by the end of this month, they will be launching their nuke-proof crypto/Bitcoin custody. To be clear, I say on a slightly smaller scale because very few institutions, very few companies can be as big as Fidelity and have as much clientele and handle as much money as Fidelity does. But a lot of money does go through Swiss as well, primarily in Switzerland, primarily in Europe, but it's a worldwide bank. And now this is another avenue for institutional investors to get into Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at the exact press release, the exact stats in a second. But let's just read this. The Switzerland-based firm announced Friday that starting March 21st, so like in 10 days, retail and institutional customers will be able to transfer cryptocurrencies from external wallets to be stored in a Swiss account. I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Austin, we don't need these banks, these third parties to handle our Bitcoin. I want to handle my Bitcoin. And I totally get that. And I agree. But the significance in this lies, in my opinion, the same significance that lied in the Fidelity Bitcoin custody live platform, which is, you remember buying your first Bitcoin or setting up your first Bitcoin wallet. There was a learning curve. It was complicated. That deters a lot of people. And I think the value here is going to be, this is going to make it a whole lot easier and and an avenue that's way more trusted for the big money to come into the space. And they pride themselves on being very secure, even more secure than a nuke. Our HSMs, meaning hardware security modules, this is a quote from the CEO, our HSMs are the same as those built for the Swiss National Bank or the country's central bank. It's the exact same ones. And that nothing is outsourced or could allow for a backdoor to be built in. So they're saying they have complete control. There will be no tampering of any sort. And he went on to say our server racks are stored in a former military bunker in the Swiss Alps, which is nuke-proof. So yes, we care about security. Very bullish news, in my opinion. This is the exact press release, and it was down here. If you want to read it yourself, I'll leave this in the description. They talk about fully integrating their trading platform and custody service, all for cryptocurrency, all for their clients. And at the top of this article, they talk about the numbers. How this is for their investors. It's a media release, but it's the numbers that investors would care about. Meaning they turned a lot of profit last year. They had over $200 million in revenue. So a lot of money goes through this place. I think this is very bullish news. And just to put this in full perspective, it was actually in mid-2017 that Swiss had a cryptocurrency trading platform for their institutional investors, where their clients could trade Bitcoin and other select cryptocurrencies back in 2017. Now it's just another barrier to entry that's torn down because of this. I think I see a lot of people, before we get on to this XRP news, and we do have more bullish XRP news to get to, before we get to that, I see a lot of people just focused on price. It's crazy. It's crazy because I see a lot of people kind of throwing this on the sidelines. Oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter. We care about the Bitcoin price. But we've seen a handful of these type of announcements, institutional custody and platform-related news in the last 6 months, I would say. News we would never see in 2016 or before, 2017 and before. And it's this kind of stuff that's, real adoption happening right in front of us. Bullish news for me. This chart I found gave me a lot of value. This is people talk about in this market, have we hit capitulation yet? We are so low, Bitcoin down 85%, but have we actually capitulated? Well, if you look at it in the Bitcoin miner perspective, which is focused, they handle the hash rate, they're the health of this cryptocurrency. Bitcoin miners capitulated back in December of 2018, and it could be a signal that the end of the bear market is near. Check this out. This is a chart over months until the next halvening, and it says every time we reach the bottom. This is what the red represents how far away we were from the next halvening, and the green represents right as we're, I guess it would be 15 days until we get there. In terms of the hash rate, right now we're right at the green, meaning we're right, very close, could launch us up into that next sort of bull run. So it's a very small metric, but in terms of, what am I trying to say? In terms of hash rate and where the miners are coming from, now that we have some perspective, now that it's not December anymore, we can see that the miners capitulated back in December, and it's been slowly growing since then. Of course, they're still mining at a loss right now, but that margin is slowly closing, so we'll see. Let me know what you think. Next piece of news. Founder of Ripple-backed startup pushes for mass adoption of XRP with 3.3 million online stores. So this hasn't happened yet. This is a petition to do so. And if it happens, that would be extremely good news for XRP holders. The founder of a Ripple-backed startup wants to bring XRP to the forefront of e-commerce. Wind, who's a company that XRPL Labs invested in 2 or 3 years ago, or has been investing in for the last few years, has created a bounty that will go to any developer who builds a plugin that integrates XRP with WooCommerce. So what exactly does this mean? WooCommerce, they're the ones that handle, if you want to sell things on your website, you can use them as a plugin on WordPress. 3.3 million checks out. You can look at the statistics right here. They handle a lot of transactions per day, and they're just waiting for a developer to build a plugin for people to integrate XRP on their website. If you want to do this, if you own XRP, you want to contribute, reward a developer to do this, you can do so just by donating here. I'll leave a link in the description, but used by this used by an estimated 3.3 million websites, WooCommerce is one of the leading payment platforms on the web. It's designed to work on WordPress, which powers a staggering 33% of all sites on the internet. I did a little digging myself. These are some of the top sites. Ripley's Believe It or Not, Airstream. So if they were to get this plugin out, I mean, this won't really be a big fish because you haven't really heard of a lot of these companies, but this would be a small fish, and this would be a catch nonetheless if this would happen. Anyway, to donate your XRP right now, the bag, the reward for a developer to do that, I think there's $900 worth of XRP in there. If you want to do it, check it out. Last piece of news before I get to some Bitcoin statistics for you is coming from the SEC. We have another update from Hester Peirce, one of the 5 heads of the SEC, one of the 5 people in charge of regulation for Bitcoin, and she just spoke at the 2019 MIT Bitcoin Expo. This is what she had to say about regulation and laws needing to change about Bitcoin. I think one of the biggest philosophical issues that many of us in crypto have with these type of regulations is around our chafing at the prohibition of retail participation, meaning it's tough for retailers to participate right now based on tax issues, based on a lot of issues. And it may be hubristic, but many of us are not independently wealthy, but we still believe that we can make good investment decisions. And right now, we're kind of excluded, meaning retail investors, people like you and me, are excluded from participating. So my question is, how can we move the accredited investor laws away from the wealth thresholds and towards something that's frankly far more reasonable and accessible to mainstream investors? Meaning, if you want to get involved, let's just take ICOs, for example. You have to be an accredited investor, make a certain amount of money to do so, at least in the US. And those laws are designed to keep the wealthy wealthy and keep the rest of us down. And it's bullish in the fact that she is acknowledging that needs to change. Our accredited investor rule effectively says that you have to have a certain wealth level or a certain amount of income in order to participate in certain types of investment products. I personally think that those rules are not consistent with what this country is about, which is about people taking opportunities, taking their talents and their intelligence and applying it to make their lives better, and we've just put this artificial barrier in place so they can't do it. Well, this is nothing official, but it gives you a little mindset into what one person on the SEC thinks. We have a fan in our court. If you've gotten any value from today's video, feel free to give it a like. It just helps me grow as a channel. But that being said, let me give you some stats. Banks fined in the last 20 years. The amount of money banks were fined for doing illegal activities in the last 20 years is more than the market cap of half of these cryptocurrencies. Bank of America brings up the top, fined almost $60 billion for doing nefarious things. And when reached out for comments from any of these banks, each bank had the same two words to say: worth it. This fine was worth it for them to get away and launder and do bad things with so much more money. Not sure if this checks out. I want a second confirmation on that. But it goes to show you there is a problem. Last stat that I want to throw at you before I let you go, let you have a good day, comes from the exact same person, Alex. Give him a follow. He has valuable information. A lot of great stuff coming from him. U.S. government debt in 1998, we had about $5.5 trillion of debt. By 2008, $10 trillion. By 2018, $21 trillion. U.S. government debt as share of GDP. Wow. In 2018, it was 107% of the GDP. The ship is taking on water. Buy Bitcoin. Buy your lifeboat. I'm not a financial investor, so there's a good chance, but who really knows if Bitcoin will make it in the end. But it is very clear that in the next 10 to 20 years, this country, the world, traditional financial systems might come to a breaking point. We'll see. That's why I want to keep you informed on this industry. That's it today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. My name's Austin. I'll see you tomorrow.